bursts of anger, fits of tears, the feeling of being lost in my own mind, a feeling of absolute insanity, really. This might sound like a lot to you guys, but to me, these are just side effects of a lack of scheduling. This lack of scheduling affected my life in many different ways. As many of you know, I'm a huge theater guy. I spend most of my time doing theater. If I'm not doing theater, I'm listening to a musical or something like that, or singing it. Probably kind of annoying to you guys, but it's just my life. Well, I'm going to tell you guys about a time when I decided I'd do 3 plays. I'd schedule school and friends and family and a job all at the same time, which is a really poor choice of mine. But through this experience, I learned a lot of really good things. I learned time management. I learned how to carry on relationships with little to no time at all. And I learned, most importantly, self-love. And that's a big part of my life. Self-love is super important. And I don't think it's stressed enough. But to take you guys back, I'll have to go back about 5 years, back to 2014. I just got done with the summer musical Les Mis in Dassel with my favorite director, Dave Metcalf. We were at the cast party, and he came up to me and he said, "Peter, I want to do a show with you, but it's gotta wait." And I was like, "That's kind of weird." I was like, "Okay." And he was like, "It's gotta wait like 3 years." And I was like, "That's a long time." But I held on to it, and I waited the 3 years. Flash forward these 3 years, and now it's well, it wasn't exactly 3 years because it was like November of 2016, but it's pretty close. Anyways, he gave me a call and I kind of forgot about it. And I went into audition. Finished the hour-long audition, and he said, "Okay, now you gotta wait a month and a half before you find out if you're in the play." And I was like, that's a really long time. So instead of just waiting it out, I went along and I auditioned for the spring musical, and I auditioned for the one act that our high school does. And sure enough, a month later, I got into all 3 shows. And then to add on to that, I also got a job on the weekends. So I was going a little bit crazy. And then to add on to that, I had some difficult family issues that were jumping into the mix. And I thought I could handle it all. But soon I got overwhelmed physically and mentally. I was exhausted. I would come home, just drop on the couch, and I could practically fall asleep in seconds. Well, flash forward about a month, and one act ended. It was time for the state competition for this play I was doing with my friend Dave. And we moved on. We got Best on Site. We swept the awards. We moved on to regionals. Now, a few weeks later, we had performances for our spring musical, and that ended. So what once was a 3-month project with Dave now turned into a 5-month project, which was a little bit of a shock. And now, as these 5 months are approaching for regionals, tennis was starting for me. And I had my heart set on doing tennis. But as regionals ended, we took 2nd place and we moved on to nationals, which was amazing for me, but also awful, because that meant it would be consuming 3 more months of my life. So what once was a 3-month project would now be an 8-month project, which is insanely long for theater. I don't know if any of you have ever done any theater, but that's a really long time for one show. Well, as this became an 8-month project, I began to get very angry and irritable easily. I got into fights with the spring play director, which is completely unlike me. As most of you know, I'm a really friendly guy. But I started to get in fights, and I started to lack in my academics, and my mom finally said I had to say no to something. And I wasn't going to say no to nationals. I wasn't going to say no to marching band. So instead I had to quit tennis, which was a bummer, but it wasn't what I was as passionate about. Well, soon I realized with all this newfound time, I could probably take care of myself, and that was the best decision of my life. I've honestly never made a better decision. I started to take care of myself. I started scheduling time. I started actually managing my relationships with my friends, which did mean losing some of my relationships, but that's what happens. This all sounds probably pretty awful to you guys, like a really, really busy time. but I found that in the busiest of times, I thrive. And I learned really good skills, and that's what was most important to me. Without this, I probably wouldn't be as good at managing my time as I am now, and that's a thought that never leaves my brain. I'm constantly managing everything I do. It's very important to me. And now that I've told you all this very long and exhausting tale, this was a time I was at my best.